So fucking Zelda, Oracle of Seasons. We played it. We raced it. It ended up being, out of our almost 100 races, it ended up being our third fucking longest one. Almost our second. It almost was longer than Skyward fucking Sword. And that game is like 10 hours of cutscenes.
Yeah, it's so... It is Oracle of Seasons. And by that I mean, like, it's so weird because... Like, just to start off this conversation, I've been checking, like, when I was checking off on all my other games, like,
Yeah.
you know, I have a Darkadia, which is just, like, Stash, where you can rate your games
Right.
and stuff like that. I gave it a 4.
Yeah, me
not
too.
to spoil the review. Neither of us really liked this game. It was pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
But, like, below mediocre, but that's still bad. Everyone gives it, like, a 9 or a
Everyone
10.
fucking loves it. I don't understand.
Yeah,
like, I
it's
just
like
see
one of the
praise.
most beloved ones.
Like
It's
people,
crazy.
like everyone who's played it likes it a lot, and I don't get it because it's not good.
Yeah, I was expecting it to be some good ass shit because of that.
Like I was
it's
expecting it.
kinda
You know,
nuts.
people nostalgia glasses. It's not popular, so I was thinking maybe at worst this will be mediocre. You know, but it was
and a
actively
mediocre
bad.
Zelda adventure ain't bad.
Yeah, a mediocre Zelda is still fucking Zelda, so we'd be having a good time, even if it was long and we got stuck. This was actually just actively bad. Like, let's fucking...
And it started off... The worst part was that it started off kind of fun. It was
We were having an okay
alright.
time for the first little bit. Because, I mean, it was a pretty standard start for a Zelda game. But it just... As the game goes on, it gets more and more tedious and less fun.
Yeah.
Because the overworld expands. And the overworld is a convoluted mess.
Yeah,
it's
the overworld itself is like 80% of the game is navigating the fucking overworld.
No,
and not in
like
like
50% because you spend so much time in the dungeons fucking retracking. But
Okay, fair enough. Like 60 though. Like we spent way more outside than we did inside of dungeons.
yeah, you know, there was a lot of
Like
time
60
spent
fucking
outside.
65% was in the fucking field.
Yeah, I'd
And
like
it's
to
just
see
like-
actually exactly how long, but I'll check that. I'll check that later. You know me and my numbers.
Yeah, you fucking statistics.
Yeah.
But it's just like the main problem with this game is tedium. That's if
It's
it's summed up
so
in one
tedious. The whole game is tedious.
word. Yeah.
There's no quality of life.
It's tedious in every single fucking aspect possible
Yeah.
because the music is repetitive
Yep.
and it's music you've heard before, either made shittier for like the Game Boy Color, or it's just very boring tracks that they made for the game that have no
Yeah.
life in them.
Every single track that is decent, you've heard before and is a watered down version of what you've heard before. And every other track is, I literally don't remember a single one. They were nothing.
Yeah. Nothing.
Yeah.
Nothing. And then the Hyrule Field theme is like a fucking like awful MIDI boring version of Hyrule Field that you've heard everywhere else.
Yeah, it's not.
It's awful.
It's the
You
worst
hear it
version of
throughout the
Hyrule
whole
Field
game.
possible.
That I've heard,
Yeah,
yeah.
that
so
we've heard, yeah.
so far, because we still need to play Ages.
We
It's
haven't
gonna be
played
even worse.
Ages. We were gonna play these
Yeah.
back to back because we thought it would be, fun, like a good time.
Yeah.
And there's like the whole Link aspect or whatever, but
So
we
much.
literally had to take the second game and postpone it because neither of us could mentally handle playing another one
Yeah.
of those
So
again.
long.
It was 20 hours for reference.
20 hours. Yeah.
And it was a little longer for you. I finished in 20 hours, and there was a couple more for you.
It was like 22.
22
probably
or
for
whatever,
me.
yeah.
Yeah. I did do the quest, where you like.
Oh, you went and
get
got the
bigger,
sword.
better sword.
Oh,
Yeah,
so the
yeah.
final boss wasn't as bad for you.
It was still kind of bad, but not as bad. Yeah. And,
Oh, yeah.
and then the next tedious thing was that after the music is that the graphics and the art style are just Link's Awakening again. It's just boring. And I mean, there's only so much you can do with 8-bit, hardware.
I wouldn't say the graphics were a weakness.
No, it's part of the tedium. If you've played previous Zeldas, which is also like, maybe if you've never played one, this is fresher to you. But like, I'm seeing more of like top-down Zelda that I've seen 1,000 times already.
I don't know. I thought like when you change the seasons, the fact that they have a different aesthetic for every single season, that part was okay to me. But I
It's
haven't
fine,
played as
but,
much
like,
2D Zelda as you have, so it's fair.
It's just like the sprites all, I don't know, the sprites are all just so bleh, and then the art style is so bleh, and it's like, I appreciate the changing of the seasons, but it's just like, I've seen this fucking top-down fucking sprite Zelda so much already, and then in Link to the Past, it was like really beautiful and it looked great.
I have not played Links to the Past I've not played Links to the Past, the original Link's Awakening, or Minish Cap yet. So
Yeah.
I can't really argue with you on this.
I played all of these. I played all of these stupid games. I haven't finished the original, but I played all of them. And it's just like, I'm tired of like looking at this. And then the sprites are like, they're either kind of cute or they're kind of like, they're too like chibi and blobby to have any real like personality to them, really. Except like other than the monsters.
The
monster designs were kind of cute.
The only good like graphical aspect of the game was the little cutscene at the beginning where you get to see fucking
when they zoom in on big pictures, like those are nice, but the rest of it's pretty fucking standard. Cause then after the graphics, you have the gameplay, and like that's the worst. Other than the map design, that's like part of the worst thing about this game is like you're like if 60% of the game is in the field, like 30% is in the menus. Like
it's
you're
bad.
in the menu.
It's bad.
For like
you
the whole game.
Have 2 buttons, and that includes your sword. Your sword is on 1 button, and then you have 1 other button for every other item. If you want to have a sword and a shield equipped, you cannot have anything else.
Yeah, that's it. And you also like, it was on Game Boy Color, and the scope that they were going for this game was way too ambitious for the fucking.
You can't fucking do it. You can't do that in the game. If it was the Game Boy Advance, then maybe because it has shoulder
you have
buttons.
like shoulder buttons. Yeah.
There's no shoulder buttons,
like,
so it's A and B. And you always want to have your fucking... It's a fucking Zelda game. You need to have your sword out at all times. So you basically have 1 item slot. And then sometimes you have to switch out and use 2 items at once because there's certain puzzles that require that. And it sucks because you don't have your sword. And then you try to use your sword after you're done the puzzle. And like, oh, wait, I have to go back into the menu and switch it out. The amount of times you have to switch, go into the menu, select the Rock's Feather or the Power Bracelets, which aren't... Like, neither of those are automatic. Neither of those are binded to a button. Everything is an item and nothing has its own button. So you can unbind the jump, the sword, the shield, everything needs to be binded and nothing has a set button. And you can only have 2 things out at once. So you constantly have to change. Because you're always, like every single dungeon, every single puzzle, every single like, almost everything, you almost always want to be using like 3 or 4 items at once, but you can only use 2. So you're constantly switching. Constantly.
Yeah, and one of them could have been a permanent upgrade. Like, why the fuck was the strength bracelet a fucking like croissant item? Why?
Yeah, like some things really should have just been automatic. That's how they could have fixed that's how they could have fixed some of the issues. Is just have some of the items just be automatic upgrades that stay with you. That would have made the game a good chunk less tedious. It still has so many other problems. It's like
playing those old like HM fucking centric Pokemon games.
Oh
it's
yeah.
It's like, oh fuck, now I have to make sure that I have like this piece of shit Pokemon that's nothing but an HM slave, and I have to like fucking have him push a rock for half an hour in this cave that I'm in.
Yeah,
and
except
like, I'm
that's
just
the whole
spending
game.
3 hours in a menu. Yeah, and except that those little instances in those old Pokemon games, that's the entirety of fucking Oracle.
And it gets worse because you get more items as it goes along.
The more items you get, the more you have to switch.
The more you have to switch because the game forces you to use more and more items as it goes along. Like it doesn't do that thing where you only use the dungeon item for the dungeon. No, you are constantly having to use old items. Bombs, the Power Bracelet, the Rock's Feather, namely the seeds, the sword, the shield. That's already 6 items, and you use those 6 in essentially every single dungeon. You have 2 buttons for all 6 of those things.
And then some items like the slingshot and the seed bag, they have sub menus inside of them.
Yeah, they have.
So you're in a menu with a sub menu, and then you're choosing shit from the sub menu. And then if you pick the wrong seed, you gotta unequip it, re-equip it.
You have to unequip it by equipping something else, and then re-equip it, and then reselect the other thing in the menu.
And then some of the seeds are just like they're just like padding is a big word for this fucking game.
Oh
too.
yeah. Oh,
but like some of the seeds are worthless. Like the scent seed, I never used that shit once.
Yeah, what the fuck?
What the fuck was even the point of it?
I found out that some enemies are arbitrarily weak to that instead of the fire one. That's the only reason I ever used it.
Yeah, but like, who's gonna take the time? Like, just use the sword.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
Or like anything else. Like, who gives? Why would you take your slingshot out? By the time you get the power up that makes it shoot 3 seeds at once, the game's done. It's over.
Get that in literally, I think the 8th dungeon, maybe the 7th one. The game's already muddled together in my brain, even though we raced this last week. Not even. We finished it on Wednesday, and you finished it on like 2 or 4 days ago. Yeah.
Yeah, like not long ago.
Yeah, not long ago at all.
And it's just the whole game is menus, sub menus, switching between menus, switching to like menus to save, switching menus to see where you are in the map.
Yeah.
Because the map is a fucking shitty, awful maze, and not a fun maze
overworld,
or like
yeah.
the overworld. Sorry, it's not like a maze where like, oh, I gotta unlock all these shortcuts or like all cool. It's like it's just like a lot of walls everywhere.
Yeah. It's just like a wall. Like you look at the map and you're like, okay, I want to go 3 squares right. And in order to go 3 squares right, you have to go up 2, left 2, up 2 again, right 4, down 2, and then right. And then you're there.
And yeah, by the time you're getting there, you forget where the fuck you were even going.
It's just a disaster, yeah. It's so inconvenient.
It's inconvenient, yeah. It's fucking really inconvenient. And not that the game has to be like easy breezy,
no.
But it has to be entertaining.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have to be fun. It just has to be entertaining. And fucking managing 80 menus like in a Zelda game, because there's ways to manage a lot of menus. There's RTSs and stuff like that. This is Zelda. It's a fucking Zelda game. If you're gonna try something new, try it on the. Like if you're playing a Zelda game, try all this ambition on a console with more than 2 fucking buttons.
It was too much. Yeah.
It's too much ambition, and then like. There's like all these like NPCs around, and some of them are kind of charming. Like the Capcom games have charm, and I feel like that's a big reason that people really like it. That saved
the game a good amount, because it was a little bit less of a chore when you get to fucking talk to the NPCs. The Dark World people are kind of funny.
Yeah, they're funny. Yeah. And then they do like little dances and stuff,
yeah.
and
it's cute. Like, it's a little bit cute. It's
cute.
Fun. It's charming.
Yeah. There's no real story.
No, honestly. Not really. It's Din gets captured, then you go. Apparently, the fucking Ages has the actual story. What I've seen, but
yeah, but like either way, it's like Zelda's never been great with story. I mean, Breath of the Wild made it terrible, but then
this guy hates
like the rest of them were like.
Only took you 13 minutes to mention Breath of the Wild. New record.
I'm gonna have to delete this now. I just mentioned it offhandedly. I have to let it go. Aside from Breath of the Wild making the story awful, like the rest of them were like, they're there, and mostly what's interesting is the lore and like the species and the locations.
Yeah, it's the lore, the species, the world. That's what's interesting about Zelda.
And in Oracle, like there's
no lore.
Only NPCs.
It's just the NPCs. The characters are all right. There aren't even really races. There's Gorons, and that's it. And you barely even talk to them. You barely even do.
You barely talk to the Gorons, and then they reuse the like Ocarina fucking Goron village.
Yeah, that was kind of a funny remix.
It was. I was just like, you could have just done something.
It wasn't good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
and then
the fucking. For me, what ended up being... It's close between this and the menus, but one of the biggest points of tedium for me is the fact that when you die in a dungeon, you go back to the fucking beginning. And if you're at the boss and you die...
Oh, God.
Everything fucking resets. Every enemy respawns. Puzzles reset for some reason. Like, switches need to be pressed again. Rooms need to be cleared again. Even if you don't
die, the puzzles reset.
Yeah.
Like, the fucking... Like, you just go into another room and go back. The puzzle that was kind of tough to solve sometimes.
Sometimes it'll reset.
Just get reset.
Yeah.
And if it wasn't hard, it was tedious, and you have to redo the whole thing, and it takes like fucking 5 minutes.
More padding. It's more slog. It's more inconvenient. It's awful. Like, I swear, you die to a boss, and it will take upwards of sometimes 5 minutes just to get back and try again. And you're fighting the boss for like 1.5, 2 minutes. You fucking die. Yeah. You're spending more time getting back to the boss than you are fighting it. It's really, really bad.
Yeah, like it's ridiculous.
Just have a warp point in front of the boss once you get there. Like even disregarding the bosses, just if you die in a dungeon, it's a pain in the ass to get back to where you were.
Because the dungeons follow the same fucking like floor plans as the goddamn field, because they're a fucking mess to get through.
Yeah, they are.
They're like, if you want to go right 2 tiles, you're gonna have to go up 3, then left 2, up 3 again, and then 15 right, then down 12, then left 3 to get to the fucking third tile that you wanted to go to. It's like, what the fuck?
It's bad.
And then they start having like 6, 7 fucking layers.
They get harder and worse as it goes along. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just more tedium.
It's just more and more, and it's a slog.
They don't pace the dungeons well, because it's like sometimes the mini boss is in the middle of the temple, sometimes it's at the beginning, sometimes it's at the very end.
It's weird, yeah. Like, there was one temple, I was like, well, I guess there's no mini boss in this. And then like the second or third last room is the mini boss. I was like, what?
And then you fight the boss.
And then you
it's
fight
like,
the
why
boss,
the
yeah.
fuck was the mini boss here?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why? It's like the pacing it drags so hard, and then your reward is always like a new item that you're just like, it's like, now I have more things to switch through.
It's another thing that you have to switch to in your menu. And sometimes it was alright, like, the Rock's Feather was nice to get. The thing is, they're nice to get, and then you fucking realize, wait, if I want to use this, I gotta switch out my sword or my shield, or like whatever else other item I'm using.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, it's not fun anymore.
Or you get it, and it's like such a because a lot of items have a level to them instead of just being upgraded versions. And it's just like, oh, well, I got the Rock's Feather, but most places in the overworld need you to have the, like, fucking cape. Or whatever the fuck. I forget what it's called.
Yeah, the Rock's
like,
cape or whatever. I don't fucking remember.
Yeah. You need the double jump that, like, lets you glide. So, it like, getting the Rock's Feather is, like, barely even, like, impressive. Like, you just get to jump over one tile, if you're lucky, maybe in the Ore World, like, which is this game's version of the Dark Dimension.
Yeah.
Which isn't just identical to the top one. It's, like, a very, like, slightly smaller map.
Which was good. That one wasn't as bad to navigate.
That one wasn't as bad because it had to be streamlined because it was smaller, so they couldn't make it as much of a clusterfuck.
They couldn't make it fucking as convoluted as the other one if they tried.
Yeah, they couldn't. They weren't allowed to because of how small it was. And then that ore dimension that you go to is perfect example too, because like of padding. Because there's places in there where they just have you dig for 10 minutes at a time. It's just like, okay, you gotta get this amount of money.
Oh yeah, when you needed to get the star ore for that girl, you literally dig around until you get it. It's kind of cute. Like, you went on a date with the fucking star or whatever, but...
Yeah, it's like you find the star ore. Or like later on in the game, you have to find like... in the desert area, you have to find...
Oh god, you have to find the bell? For the captain?
Yeah, you have to find a bell, and they don't really tell you. If you don't know, they like from how they've treated you before in the game, you're like, better get digging. So you just start digging through all the screens, and then you got to the upper right. By the time you've wasted like dozens of minutes already, there's a skull that you pick up that is a radar for the fucking bell, and a terrible radar.
Yeah,
because once you get him,
literally on top of it, or it doesn't fucking work.
If you're not literally directly next to him on the grid of the game, like you know, fucking games are grids.
You have to be on that square.
You have to be on the square next to the hole.
Yeah.
And then it's not even in a diggable spot. It's inside one of the sand traps. And you've been taught to avoid them. Like this game, it's like what the fuck is wrong?
It doesn't treat you right.
It doesn't treat. It's a bad boyfriend.
It's a bad boyfriend. Treat you right. Yes.
This game is not good enough for me.
It's not good. We left him.
Yeah, we left him.
No more.
We got what we wanted, and then we left him.
Yeah.
Because fuck that game. It's just like, I don't know. Yeah. When you're playing a game and then you find yourself just playing through padding of like dig in this screen for a couple like dozen minutes. You're like, I guess this game just doesn't respect me. I guess this game doesn't.
That's
give
a good way of putting it. The game doesn't respect your time.
Yeah.
If we compiled the actual number of gameplay hours, I guarantee it would be well less than half. Probably less than even like a quarter. There's probably like 5-6 hours of actual gameplay. It feels.
Yeah.
like.
If you remove padding, menus, and like. Just like
the amount of lost time in the overworld.
Yeah, like all the time that you have to backtrack back to where you died from. It's like you probably have like less than 6 hours.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, and it's just like, and then there's a lot. You get eventually like warp points.
Oh yeah,
but they're not super consistent because like there's one in the top right that I desperately wanted for the canyons, and they never give you one there.
There's no warp point in the fucking mountains.
Yeah, and that's like one of the fucking most annoying places to get to on foot.
Yeah,
it's like
you gotta go like below it and then climb up some waterfalls and then go over some bridges and then you're up there.
The tedium is expanded upon further because you have to be changing seasons constantly. Yeah. That is the main gimmick of the game is one of the worst things about it. You have to be changing seasons constantly, and you never know which one's the right one unless it specifically is like, yeah, just use fall here. Like just use summer here. It's like, why am I even playing this?
You have to fucking not only do you have to change the seasons, that's also an item. So guess what? Go into your menu, switch it out, fucking put it on, and then you have to be on a tree stump to change seasons. And then you change them one by one. You don't get to pick your season. So if you're in fall and you need to get to summer, you gotta fucking rotate through winter, spring, summer. It's just padding,
doesn't let you
tedium, keeps going.
And you can't say that they couldn't program that in, because with the seeds they give you a sub menu to choose. Yeah. Why couldn't they do that? They could have done it with the seasons as well. Yeah. And it's like, oh, is it because it's magical? You have to cycle through them.
It's almost always arbitrary. You either need to traverse through like 3 or 4 screens to get to a dead end and go, oh, that's what season I need, or you need to guess.
Yeah. Or you choose a season, go back to where you were, and then realize you're now in a dead end because that season is a dead end now.
That happened a lot. I think the worst time I ever had between dungeons was like the 3rd to 4th dungeon, around there, because it's right before you get the warp points. So you don't even have that. Not that the warp points help a lot. They help a little bit. But it's right before you get the warp points, so you have to traverse like on foot everywhere. And then there was like a point in time where you change season to winter, and you change between fall and winter, but then if it's fall there's a dead end, and then if it's winter it's just a mess.
Yeah, and then you don't know if it's like, am I missing an item or am I in the wrong season? It's just like, it doesn't feel like experimentation. It feels just like,
keep fucking guessing.
Like you said, arbitrary.
It's throwing shit at the wall until some of it sticks. That kind of.
And then you finally get through, and then you're like, you desperately hold on to that achievement, hoping that you don't have to solve one more piece of bullshit on the way there.
The only season puzzle that I enjoyed in my memory is, I think, on the way to either the 6th or 7th dungeon, you have to rotate between like all 4 seasons in like the Lost Woods or whatever.
That one was okay.
That one was okay.
Because it's an actual puzzle.
It's an actual puzzle. That was an actual puzzle, yeah.
It's not just trial and error like every other fucking
I felt like I was actually thinking for the first time like about the seasons. And I was like, wow, this is like what a Zelda game is supposed to be. But that's the thing. There's a few decent puzzles strewn throughout the game, but I could probably count them on one hand. Like, they're few and far between. Yeah. Most of the puzzles are standard shit, you know. Push a block over here. I fucking hate the puzzles that are literally just push one block to the side and then a door opens.
If you've played a Zelda game, whoever's listening to this, you know the puzzle where you push one. There's 3 blocks. You push one on the bottom, the one on the top, and then the one in the middle up to either
up or down. Yeah, God.
Yeah, up or down, and then you go through.
This game
has 40,000 of those.
That is
like
the whole game.
8, yeah, so many. And the whole game is that. It's like brainless. Yeah. It's just so brainless.
There are very few. Like, not even one good puzzle per dungeon. Some dungeons have 0 good puzzles. And then some of them have 1. Like,
some of them have one that's like way harder in skill level than.
That's the other thing, is the difficulty is inconsistent. This game is inconsistent.
That's shit, yeah.
In almost every aspect.
No. I was just gonna say, like, there was that sliding block puzzle that was a literal, like, get these in a specific order, and moving them around was really hard. It was like blue and red block puzzle.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
That one was hard. It's good, but it's like, it's way too hard for like the difficulty spike. Then there was a sliding ice one that was okay, but that one was also kind of like,
yeah, I remember that one.
You know, that one's okay. It wasn't as hard as the other one, which is funny because that one's like fucking 6 temples later.
Yeah, that one's in like,
and it's
that's
easier.
In the ice dungeon. That was in the last dungeon. That was one of the like decent ones. Yeah. So there's a few good ones. I think my favorite dungeon ended up being the 5th one. I think where you get the magnets, right?
Yeah,
I think that was probably the most creative use of a new item. That's pretty much the only new item, honestly, is the magnets.
It was unless you count the stupid seeds.
The stupid fucking seeds. I mean,
shit about that.
The seeds are the fucking worst part of this game, honestly. They're not even worth complaining about.
Think about the fucking Pegasus seeds. Their worthlessness is something.
The fucking Pegasus seeds. You don't have Pegasus boots in that game. You have to use Pegasus seeds. And you use a seed and it speeds you up.
And they last for seconds.
But the problem is, it lasts for seconds, like 10 seconds. And if you enter a new area, it ends. And guess what? It's a fucking item slot. So in order to use it, you gotta fucking go into your menu, select the seed pouch, select the seeds, unpause, press A once to use it, and it lasts for 10 seconds. By the time you've used it, it's way slower than if you just walked normally.
Yeah, and a lot of puzzles require you to be jumping while having the Pegasus seed on. Yeah. So you have to pause, equip Pegasus seed, use Pegasus seed, pause, unequip Pegasus seed, equip the jump button, and then you can jump over. And they do that a lot of times.
Either that, or you equip the feather and the seed at the same time, which means you're weaponless.
Yeah,
So
and then
it's
you
one or
get
the
hit
other.
by everything.
And then you get hit by everything. So it's just fucking.
And you fall into it. And that's another thing. In this game, Link is so slippery. He fucking lands on a square, he will slide the fuck off. It doesn't matter where you landed. You landed right in the middle, he's sliding
He's sliding.
off.
And that reminded me of something else. There's no fucking iframes in this game either.
Oh my god, yeah, I
You
forgot.
get hit, you are fucked.
If you get cornered, you're
Yeah.
dead. You're dead.
You
You're
just
dead
get
if you
boom, 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 boom. Your health evaporates. Not a single iframe. You are fucked.
And it's like, it's almost like they forgot to put them in because they add an animation for you getting hurt, like you flash, but you don't have iframes.
Your iframes
and it's just,
are getting knocked back away from the radius of the attack.
yeah, but you can still take damage.
And if you're cornered, like you said, you just get fucked. Yeah.
Yeah. Or if it's an enemy that sticks close to you and doesn't do knockback, like a keys or something, it fucking kills you instantly. Like you're just like, oh, I just lost fucking 8 hearts because I didn't notice that.
I didn't notice
that
guy was standing inside of me. Because the graphical and audio like indicators aren't good, and also there's no iframes. Yeah.
Yeah, you don't. The indicators are bad. While also when you're on low health, and which increases the more health you get, the
higher the
lower bar
threshold
is
for low health is. Yeah.
Yeah. So that the beeping is the only good indicator, and it's fucking annoying.
Yeah,
it's so annoying.
It's somehow more annoying than it usually is.
Yeah, because this game's irritating.
By the time,
so it's more annoying than it usually is.
By the time you get to the end of the game, you're at like 3.5, 4 hearts, and you're a fucking beeping health. It's
the beeping is up, and you're just like, are you fucking serious? Like my life was 3 hearts not too long ago. It's like, why are you beeping right now? It's so annoying. Like why?
Man, and you know, Zelda games hit and miss with their collectibles, but you know. In theme with the rest of the game, it's a fucking miss in this game too. The main collectibles, the fucking rings, dude.
The rings of power. The rings of they need to be insured. They need to be assessed. They need to be. Link needs to find the proper Amazon Dropbox and like make sure it's packaged correctly. And then in 2 weeks' time, he gets the ring back, and then you can check what ring it is. And if it's and then like that's all a joke, but like it feels like that.
It's obnoxious.
If you get a ring, you don't just get a cool ring that's like you can equip. You have to go back to town, which is again padding.
Yep.
It's just more padding. You go back to town. You talk to this guy that has like analyzes your ring and tells you what it is. And then if it's a double, you can get doubles of rings.
Because fuck you.
Because fuck you. And you get doubles of ring. He gives you 30 rupees when it costs 20 to have him like assess it. So you get 10.
Rupees are fucking plentiful in that game. You never run out. Because you're running through the dungeons over and over again, so you're fucking forced to grind through enemies.
Which makes them worthless. They're like Breath of the Wild. It's fucking worthless money.
It's worthless.
And it's just like fucking boring. Like every reward is like a 20 rupee chest or something. And it's like, well, I have 999, so what do I care?
Who cares? Yeah, I was never low on money in that whole game. Fucking the rings, man. Even those are tedious. Like they could have just been power-ups, or at the very least, when you pick one up, you can just equip it. But no, like you said, you have to get it appraised, and then he'll tell you what it is, and then you have to talk to him again, go into a separate menu, and you can only carry, at first, only 1 ring at a time, and eventually get an upgrade. You can carry 3 rings at a time. He keeps all of your other rings for some fucking reason, and then you can only have 3 at a time, and you can only wear 1 of the 3 that you have. It's just a pain. At a time, yeah.
So you have 3 on you, but you can only use 1 at a time. It's so fucking stupid.
At the very least.
And it's like, I remember you were cracking me up once because you were like, he has 10 fucking fingers. Why can I only use 1 at a time and hold 3? Like, why isn't he wearing all... And like, sure, limitations, blah, blah, blah. But like, why can I only equip 1 of them? Why can't I put more than 1 status?
At the very least, if you could equip 3 rings at once, even 2, it would add a layer of customization to your game, you know? It would make
and like experimentation
customization. That would have been a cool mechanic if you could equip, like, combine different ring powers. Because I was doing that when I got to the end of the game and I was about to fight the final boss. I was like, oh, I could equip this one, and then I take less knockback, and then I can take less damage, and I can deal more damage, and then, oh wait, you can only equip 1 at once. Fuck you.
Yeah.
So
and then like you like the rings don't even auto equip. Like you don't even realize that like you need to go in the like because there's 3 menus. There's the first menu where all your items are. You press select. Then there's your like fucking like key items and your rings. And then the third menu is like your super key items and the save button. And in the second menu, you have to go and equip the ring.
I didn't equip a ring for a good, like, 3 dungeons because I didn't realize you had to equip it.
Yeah, I thought they didn't do anything because they fucking...
I'm like, it's not working.
They didn't tell me it wasn't equipped.
And some of the rings are fucking useless. Like, the like ring and the Moblin ring. Become a like. Become a Moblin. Yeah. Octorok, that's my favorite. You got like 5 Octorok rings in your playthrough.
I got like fucking 15 of those motherfuckers.
Become an Octorok, Dusty. Become an Octorok.
That was like the fucking metapod of the goddamn Zelda universe is the Octorok ring.
And here's it gets even worse. Because there are these gacha seeds or whatever. It's funny. It's basically gacha. Because you fucking you have to take these seeds, plant them in the floor somewhere, like in these soft soil spots, change seasons or wait for time to pass.
Some are super out of the way.
Some are super out of the way. And like they're treated as if they're like big rewards. Like sometimes you'll fucking do like there was this one quest where I had to follow 2 NPCs around in like a Lost Woods kind of way, and every time they see you it resets. I did that 10 tries, like 20 minutes, and I fucking got to the end and they're like, yes, here you go, you fucking did it, you found this fucking side quest, here you go, gacha seed, fuck you. You have to go fucking plan it, change the seasons or wait for time to pass, come back to that same spot, cut down the tree, you know what's inside the fucking gacha seed? A fucking ring. Go back to the fucking town, get it appraised for 20 rupees, it's fucking Octorok ring. Go
Here's
fuck
10 rupees,
yourself.
you
Here's
fucking
10
idiot.
rupees, dumbass.
and then they tell you it's like the further away and more wacky the spot is, the rarer the ring will be. It's like, I don't want to go through the hassle of maneuvering through your fucking shit maze so I can get another ring that's for dumbass worthless powers that I would never use.
Very few rings that did anything of value.
If they're of value, they're so situational.
And they're always situational. Like, don't take electrical damage. That was very useful during the final boss, but that's the only time I ever used that.
I didn't use it because I figured out that you could hit, the only way you can swat, I was going to say Zelda, you can swat Din away, she's in a crystal, and he uses, the final boss uses her as a meat shield, like you said. And it's like, you can swat her away with the rod of seasons.
Oh, yes, I didn't.
So you don't even need that ring. You don't even need it. Like,
let's talk about the bosses, just so we're not completely shitting on the game. At least I won't be, because I thought the bosses were decent. I think the early game ones were pretty mediocre, but I think as the game went on, they actually got better. Disregarding the fact that you have to fucking go back through the entire dungeon every time you die to them, the actual boss fights I thought were okay. What did you think?
I don't think they were good, mostly because they are almost every single one, except for like 2 or 3. And there's 8 dungeons, each with a mini boss and a regular boss. So that's fucked. Only 3 bosses that are like okay. And like all of them are just like, figure out how to hit it with your sword. It's like, bitch, you just gave me a fucking dungeon item. Why am I not figuring out how to kill it with that?
See,
like that's
the early game ones are like that,
fun.
but the late game ones are better. Like the fucking electric choo-choo where you gotta boomerang all the heads around it. That one was pretty good.
That's one of the 3 that were good.
The mini boss in the end, like the fire guy where you gotta switch him to... Oh wait, that would have been good. You have to use the seeds to switch him to ice, and then use the other seed to damage him. But guess what? Because you have to use 2 different types of seeds, you know what that means? Fucking constant menuing to switch back and forth between the 2 seeds.
Yeah, so a boss fight is fucking 80% white menu,
what would have been
20% action.
Otherwise a good boss turned into a tedious mess, which is... That's the problem, is any good boss that actually gave me a challenge in that game, every time I died to it, I had to fucking trek back through the dungeon to get to it. So it became, like... half as enjoyable at best. Some of the treks were better than others, but that wasn't by design. That was just if you were lucky enough to have the midpoint close enough to the boss. The quote-unquote midpoint.
For me, the bosses were just like way too fucking easy.
Yeah.
Or it's like way too fucking obtuse because you needed to use a sword instead of the logical thing where you need to use a dungeon item.
That's a weird thing with 2D Zeldas, is using the sword instead of the dungeon item, but, you know.
Like, I can understand that in like the original, but like... What the fuck? What's the point of the dungeon item if I used it in like 2 puzzles and then in the overworld occasionally? If it's not to kill this like boss, why did I get it then?
It feels like you said earlier, when you get a new item, it's just another thing to switch to. That you have to.
It's not. It's no longer a cool reward anymore. It's like, oh god, not to fucking be switching to this shit for a while.
Yeah. And
like you said, the only one that was fun was the magnet, but they even fucked that up.
They fucked it up a bit
Because they had enemies that you literally have to fucking magnetize towards you. And then you magnetize the enemies towards you, and then they fucking damage you a shit ton, and then they immediately run away again, and you have to keep magnetizing, and then you just die. You die.
It's awful. Those guys suck.
It's
the puzzles with the magnet were probably on average the best puzzles in the game.
Yeah, there's like the ones with the big balls that you have to magnetize away and from you, like with you.
Or the ones you have to like
okay.
platform over like the gaps with it. Like it's decent.
Yeah,
it's decent. It's creative.
It's like,
it's
not the worst, but it's just like it could have been way better.
It could have been a little better, but I mean, I'm not gonna complain about that over everything else, you know.
But it does feel a little bit like when they use it for puzzles, it's like they didn't use it for that many puzzles. And when it's not a puzzle, it just feels like a glorified like reskin of a hookshot.
A little bit, yeah. Like, when it's just used to traverse.
It's just a slower hookshot. Yeah,
because we thought we were getting the hook shot when we saw like the points. There was like a gap and then the point. Oh no, but there was that. Yeah, but that was the only cool. That's like the standout. That's the thing. There's exceptions to the rules in this game, but for the most part, it's tedious, boring, uninteresting.
Yeah, and then they fucking heavily rely on the fucking Zelda formula, which is like already like boring. Like fucking who gives a shit?
They didn't. Yeah.
Because we've had Link's Awakening, but by the time that game came out, it was 2001. We had the original Zelda, Zelda 2, we had fucking Link's Awakening, we had Link's Awakening DX, we had Link to the Past, we had Ocarina of Time.
Ocarina of Time came out like 5 years before this game. Majora's Mask came out in the same year as this game.
Yeah, and it's just like dude, there's so much of this formula already. Why didn't you try a little bit different? And it's like some of the side quests seem like they're trying to be ambitious, but no, it's actually part of one giant boring ass like trade quest.
There is
that's like
almost no side. There's basically no side quests in the game. There's one giant trade quest, and if you complete it, you get an upgraded sword.
It's a 15 to 20 item.
It's 12
trade
items,
quest.
but it feels like 15 to 20.
Was it 12?
It was 12, yeah.
Okay, it was so stupid. Whatever. And there's like 20 NPCs and 12 of them are just for that trade quest.
Literally.
It's like what the fuck?
There's no. Now that I think about it, I didn't think about this before. There's no side mini games or anything. There's nothing like.
The only one that I can think of is the dance one. Oh, and I have to tell you something.
I never did a dance mini game.
Yeah, you did. So you could get.
Oh yeah, well that was just I view that more as like a quest.
No, but it is a mini game because I'll tell you why. You remember those fucking... At one point you get a kangaroo.
Yes.
That helps you jump over shit and be immune to stuff and stuff like that. And it's kind of fun to be in him. Whatever. It's fun to be in his little pocket and jump around and shit. You can whistle for him and sometimes he'll show up, sometimes he just fucking won't because he doesn't feel like it. And then you never know. And when you want him most is when he doesn't show up. It's fucking annoying. Or he'll show up on the opposite side.
I was about to say, you'll fucking whistle at the bottom of a cliff, and he'll show up on top of it. Fucking asshole.
Yeah, it's that's what I needed you for, and I have to go off screen and summon you there. Yeah. And it's just more padding. Thank you. It's thanks for not even thinking that through. But and then you further on, you encounter 2 other animal buddies that you never see again. Nope. But so if you didn't do what you had to do with them. While you had them, there's giant parts of the map that you'll just never touch. Yeah.
There was a few screens I didn't touch. There's a few screens I didn't
because you didn't have those animal buddies. Yeah. You know how you get the fucking... They should have just given you their own flutes like Ricky did.
You have to fucking go back and play the dance mini game?
You have to go back and play the dance mini game for each of the flutes.
That's fucking stupid.
I was doing that for a little bit, and I was like, this is stupid. They'll probably just give me a seed anyway. They give you the fucking magic flute... that lets you talk to those fucking
That's the fucking problem, is I was never incentivized to go out of my way to do anything, because your reward was always either a fucking ring or a seed, which turns into a ring. God.
I never thought about that. Every reward is just it's a different way to get to a ring. Yeah. And then you have to go have it be insured. It's fuck you, man.
So obnoxious, yeah.
Yeah, it's just padding the video game, and I don't understand what everyone loves.
I don't get it, man.
I don't get it at all.
I normally with this kind of thing, I can at least see what they're getting at, right? But I really
as a fucking Breath of the Wild hater, I fucking completely understand why people are stupid and like that game.
Yes.
But With this, I have no clue.
Yeah,
what
like
the fuck
I
do they like?
fucking Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. That's my Breath of the Wild, really.
Yeah, because
yeah.
you're like you're into like professional, fucking like little tricks and things like
Game
that.
is so
Nintendo
boring
didn't want
to me,
that,
but I understand
so
why
they
people
turned
like
it into
it.
something. Yeah, because Nintendo just wanted like a stupid kart racer, and then people figured out like cool mechanics, so then they made it. They took those away because they didn't mean to do
like,
it.
oops, better get rid of that.
Yeah, because they don't want people like fucking out racing everybody else by 1,000 miles online. It's like, okay, like most people are gonna like that, but there's a small niche who like those mechanics who won't like it. But this game doesn't have any of that. It's just shit. It's just shit. There's nothing to like.
Like
there's a little bit of charm.
There's a little bit of charm, and then few and far between there are exceptions to the rule of shit.
Yeah. Like sprinkled throughout, there's like moments of like, hey, I'm gaming, I'm having a fun time,
and then it's over, and you're back to menuing.
Yeah, and another horrible thing is the give and take of dungeons. It's like, oh, I'm having fun with this. This dungeon seems different than every single dungeon felt like it was gonna be okay, and then you get to the halfway point, turns to shit.
The longer the dungeon goes, the worse it gets because it's just more convoluted, more backtracking. There's a lot of backtracking in the dungeons. Everything resets, so when you backtrack, you have to solve every puzzle again. Especially, like, the worst thing is the enemy rooms just respawning every single enemy. And then you have to fight them all to get out. That one fucking dungeon, I think the 6th one, where you had to... It's a 50-50. If you press one switch, 5 snakes fall from the sky instead of the path opening up.
Yeah, it's literally just wasting your time.
There was one time where I got the wrong switch 5 times in a row. So I had to fight 25 or 30 snakes before moving on.
And I didn't have to deal with that. I got the snakes once.
Yeah.
That's it.
I got fucked.
But you got it like 1,000 times, and it's just like the fact that can happen is terrible.
Why would you do that?
Why is it even there?
Why is it there? There's so many things. It's like, why did you decide? Why did a human look at that? Why did people playtest that and go, yeah, that's good, ship it? It's just padding.
And then like sometimes in a room, you're like, okay, go to the top right of the room, press a button. Don't even drag a jar onto it or anything. Just press it with your legs. Yeah. And then that opens the door. It's like,
just
why
non-puzzles, just padding. Walk. It's just padding, man.
Yeah. Non-puzzles is a big thing in this game too. It's like it's the block pushing that like everyone already knows. After you solve it once, you solved it forever. Like you're never gonna not remember.
Yeah, even if it's your first Zelda game, I bet it'd get repetitive by the end because it doesn't really change. Like
yeah. And then they fucking show you rules like you can't push blocks into an abyss. You can't do that. But then at a random point in one of the dungeons, you can't escape unless you push one of the blocks into the
another
abyss.
Fucking thing where it breaks its own rules and is inconsistent. And then
why are you establishing rules and punishing me for following them?
It's not.
How am I supposed to think outside the box when you punish me for it? It's like what the fuck do you expect from me? And this is like why do you hate children so much? What the fuck is wrong with you? It's just like this whole game is just. It's like it's padding tedium. It's just not that fun. It's just not.
It's not a good time. I'm not going to be revisiting it ever.
It's so long too,
really
and
long.
It's just like, and that's another thing. It's like you don't need to be long. Why is this padding here?
You can make a good fucking game without making it this long. Like maybe they felt like they had to live up to the Zelda name or whatever, but you I
don't know. Whatever it was.
Whatever it was bad.
It was bad, yeah. And like I always tell you, it's like everything has potential and ambition should be admired. But if it's done poorly, you don't grow or fix things by pretending that they didn't do it badly.
Yeah.
If they had ambition and didn't pull it off, you have to talk about how they didn't pull it off.
They didn't fucking do it.
In the future, they will.
They had some good ideas and they had ambition, and it didn't come to fruition properly. So that's bad.
Never have I seen a game that it was more in need of a remake than this fucking.
That's
game.
the fucking thing. They've remade like half the fucking Zelda games, but not these ones for some reason.
But not the bad ones, because that's a thing. It's like with movies that are bad or games that are bad, those should be remade by people with more talent. Or that have more knowledge and be made good. But all they do is report and remaster games that were already perfect.
Yeah.
But it's like these games, it's like in Link's Awakening for fucking, which was overpriced as shit. But like I got it on Switch for like $20, and that's an okay price to me.
Yeah. $20 made sense, but it was full fucking price when it came out.
It was $60, and it's like fucking like they gave you your own jump button and stuff like that, like separate from your items. And there's like it's quality of life, like you said earlier. I usually hate that word because it's just
Yeah,
like a dumb thing.
usually that's like so overdone, and
It's like people don't know how to use that
they
word.
overvalue
It's like,
it as well. And yeah, they don't know what it means.
Yeah, they don't know what it means because like quality of life isn't supposed to be washing over everything that's hard or everything that was inconvenient.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be like little things that help make
The experience
the
better.
whole experience
Yeah,
better.
exactly.
Yeah.
You know, like having enough buttons for your fucking video games so that you don't have to menu 7 times
Yeah.
a minute.
Yeah.
Holy
it's just
shit.
Like, fuck, man.
Yeah.
So yeah, this was a shockingly
It was shockingly bad, man.
boring game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunate. I think I am going to lower it 1 more point.
Yeah, I think I'll stick to 4 mostly just because I don't know. It's like I think of shit like Ninja Bread Man and stuff like that, and I'm like, you know, that was an hour, sure, but I don't know, it's just like. And then this game had that thing too, where it's like it did the bullshit Pokemon thing, where it's like,
Oh yeah.
buy both
Buy
copies,
both copies, and then you can
complete
get the
game.
true ending or whatever. It's a little bit scummy.
And this is even worse because in Pokemon it's like, oh, you can complete the Pokedex. It's like, that's a side thing. In this, if you want the fucking finality to the ending,
If you want the actual
story,
like real ending, like it's literally locked behind completing both games.
an entire other game, and then you have to have like a fucking, I don't know, like a link cable, or I think it's just a power source. Maybe you don't need a link cable, but like and then you can unlock the real ending, and it's just like, fuck you, like that's so scummy.
It's
I don't know.
It's not good.
It's just lame. And if they did remaster it today, they'd fucking release it as 2 copies.
They
again.
would.
I know they would.
Of course.
And then charge 60 for both.
Yeah. 60 each. Fuck you.
Then they'd offer the bundle like they do with Pokemon, where it's like, hey, you fucking epic fans, buy this $120 bundle and save no money on it.
Yeah. That's fucking
Pokemon
so
fans are
shit.
the
You
fucking
literally
worst.
don't even save money.
So like we said, yeah, it's just like the fucking, probably the worst Zelda I've
I was
played.
gonna say, yeah. I haven't played the CDIs. I'm assuming they're worse, but
Oh yeah, those
know,
are barely.
those barely even qualify. I hope this is the worst Zelda game that I ever play, barring those, because it wasn't good.
The only one that could probably challenge it is
Ages. Yeah, that's what I mean. I hope these 2 are the worst, because Ages isn't gonna be much better.
And I have played Minish Cap.
Mm-hmm.
Capcom isn't the worst at making Zelda. That isn't one of my favorite Zeldas. It's not great. It's okay. But like these 2, I haven't played Ages, but like it's not like they'll be that fucking different. Man, they really fucked up.
Yeah, they fucked up
big time. So yeah, I don't know. The end.
The end.
You suck, Oracle.
Yeah,
Ceases,
you suck
fuck
balls.
you.
Tedious. Too long.
Didn't respect my fucking
Didn't respect. No respect for the player. No consistency. Just a mess. Yeah.
Just a fucking mess. So yeah, don't play it. Play
Play Hades and Bug Fables.
Yeah, play Tunic.
Yeah.
I heard that's pretty
There you
good.
go. Don't waste your time.
Bye.
Bye bye.